Anyway, everyone, the mic keeps falling down. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Indiana Jones getting back on racetrack weekend. This weekend, let me adjust this here if I can. This weekend, we're gonna have the Canadian Grand Prix, Montreal, and the Gilles Villeneuve racetrack. We have been there for racing, not we, but they have been there for a really long time. And it's a kind of a boring Grand Prix. Usually it's a single line Grand Prix. You cannot overtake in many places, only in the last chicane, which is over here. And sometimes if it rains, there are interesting races like this one where Patton stopped like 6 times, if I'm not mistaken. It's the longest race in F1 history. They were like 6 hours and something like this. So yeah, sometimes cool things happen. This was a really cool one. There has been like some stuff happening, like Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. I think it was in 2017 or 18, where something happened with Vettel. He got penalized and they took the victory away from him. You have Ricciardo's first victory in F1, overtaking the Mercedes of Nico Rosberg, who had braking problems. But this racetrack is a very difficult and tough race for the brakes. It's a stop and go racetrack where you need a lot of traction and you need a lot of grip as well. This keeps falling down. I don't know how to fix it. Anyway, so yeah, we saw this, and then you have the Wall of Champions. The Wall of Champions was named after, in 1999, as you can see here, 3 world champions went into against the wall in the last chicane, going to the last straight line, whatever you want to call it. Hill, Schumacher, and Villeneuve. 3 of them crashed in the same corner. You can see there's no space. You come here in a big speed, and the wall is right here. It's very difficult because the chicane has one of these donuts, and it's kind of difficult to maneuver it. You have to be perfect. Otherwise, if you touch one of those donuts, you go straight into the wall, and you cannot avoid it. Anyway, let's see what we have for this weekend. Some quick news, the porpoising thing that we talked about on Wednesday, that maybe the FIA is going to take action on it. Well, it did. They checked with some medical people, and looks like Hamilton was not exaggerating. You might have issues, health issues on your back, on your neck, or whatever. So they are going to take some actions to try to make it less or make it disappear for the teams that actually have some of them, like Mercedes, Ferrari, and others. So this is a statement of the FIA, what are they going to do in the short term. They will make a closer scrutiny of the planks and skids underneath the car. You see those sparks that come out to check the design and the wear, see how things are happening, how they evolve, why they're happening, and help the teams to solve it. They will make a metric. The exact mathematical formula is still being analyzed, in which the F1 teams have been to contribute to define a limit of the acceptable vertical oscillations they're proposing. Some teams like Red Bull don't see it fair because they made it properly and they don't have issues, same like Alpine. And the other cars like Ferrari and Mercedes especially, they have this. So the solution for them is very easy. Just make the car go higher, lose some performance, but of course the teams don't want to lose performance, right? And I think the spectators also, we don't want to see that. We want to see cars racing. The more cars that we have racing with each other, much better. So if we like this, you can make it disappear for Mercedes and all the other cars, much better. So they are forcing the change in regulations. So let's see if next season there will be even more change of regulations. Anyway, Melbourne renewed the contract for another 13 years until 2035 to race in Albert Park. The new thing is that the F2 and F3 will be joining. Until now they were not racing. Usually they race in the European Grand Prix and then for the rest of the world, unless it's Abu Dhabi, if I'm not mistaken, and the Russian Grand Prix, the rest of them, they don't race there. So this might be one of the first international races that we see of F2 going with F1. And finally, some silly season stuff. Mick Schumacher, as we already said, he's not performing very well, so he might be sacked at the end of the year. Well, it's not sacked because he has no contract with Haas for next year, but Ferrari does have a saying in that. So if Mick Schumacher doesn't perform as they are expecting from him, probably they will sit Giovinazzi in that second seat of the Haas along Kevin Magnussen. He's racing FE. He was in Sauber or Alfa Romeo last year. He got replaced for poor results. So we might see Giovinazzi back in the F1 next season, since Ferrari doesn't look like wants to put any of those academy drivers in any of those seats. What's the weather like for this weekend? According to weather.com, we will have a rainy Friday, a rainy Saturday, the night is gonna be less, and then we will have a sunny Sunday. That's why they call it Sunday. Anyway, so rainy weekend except for Sunday. Is this gonna be like this? In theory, well, we are already on Friday, so it should be like this. This was looked like 1 hour ago, so it should stay like that. What do we have for the race? C4, C5, and C3 for the compounds. It's a street racetrack. Usually you can drive around during the rest of the year. So low grip, low downforce, as you can see. It's many straights, stop and go racetrack, but this is gonna have a big evolution as the weekend goes by. By the way, when this happens, usually outside of the racing line, you will have a lot of marbles of rubber, and it's a kind of difficult to overtake. So the only overtaking place, it's either here, if you really have a good exit out of this chicane, which is kind of difficult, and here. You will have the DRS zone here, and this is the place where overtakes happen in this racetrack. They have the wall of champion here, so you need to be careful with those donuts and the chicane. And yeah, and this is, as you can see, where's the brake here. Massive braking and traction. So this is a really one of the worst Grand Prix for brakes in the whole calendar. We have seen braking failures in the past, this carbon dust coming out of the brakes, people having braking problems like the Mercedes in that year where Ricciardo won. So yeah, it's this kind of racetrack. You cannot overtake, so it's usually kind of a boring Grand Prix unless stuff happens, which usually it doesn't. So 305 kilometers, 70 laps, 4.3, and the race record or the lap record is in 2019 by Valtteri Bottas, 113. I don't think we will see it broken this year, so let's go into the predictions. I should maybe start putting sound effects here, huh? So what's gonna happen? This should be another Red Bull racetrack. Why? Straight lines. Red Bull is better on the straight lines or high-speed racetracks, unlike Ferrari, which is better in more corner-y racetracks. However, in Baku, we saw that Ferrari had a pole position over the Red Bulls. So I'm gonna say that more or less it's gonna be the same thing here. So I think Leclerc is gonna have the pole position once again, especially if the FIA kind of helps with the proposing thing. And the race should look more or less similar to what happened in Baku. Verstappen, I think it's gonna be the winner. Red Bull should be the fastest car. Red Bull already didn't say it, but they're showing it that Verstappen is the driver number one. When they all the time they tell Perez don't fight with Verstappen, but we don't hear that the other way around, do we? So yeah, I think Verstappen is gonna win. If Leclerc doesn't have any car problems, I think these two drivers are on top of the rest due to mechanical things. If Mercedes were closer, perhaps Russell could be fighting with them. Who knows? Anyway, Perez, Sainz, if they can finish again. I think the Mercedes will come after because they are like a step ahead of everyone else, right? They are in the middle of nowhere between the two first, and then you have the Alpines, the Alfa Tauris, the McLarens, and everything that are coming after them. So it's kind of difficult not to guess even this one unless there's problems here, which they will make podiums usually. And then I think the rest is going to be more or less as Baku. Gasly was there, Alfa Tauri, thanks to the Honda or Red Bull powertrains. They were there, they had a solid race, as did Yuki Tsunoda. However, he had a problem with the rear wing. If they don't have any problems here, as in theory they shouldn't, they should be there. Alonso with the Alpine as well should be there. And Sebastian Vettel. I think more or less the top 10 will be more or less the same as in Baku. No big changes due to the racetrack looking a little bit similar. Silverstone next weekend will be a little bit different. Let's not forget that this could be the last Grand Prix of Latifi. So quiz time. I already gave you the hint of this one, so let's see if you were paying attention. The Wall of Champions was named after which three drivers crashed here during a Grand Prix weekend? Was it Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, Mika Hakkinen, Schumacher and Ayrton Senna, Schumacher, Villeneuve and Hill, Senna, Prost and Mansell, or Kimi Raikkonen, Alonso and Sebastian Vettel? Let's not forget, a lot of drivers crashed in that wall. You had Button, you had Wurz, you have Vettel, I think Raikkonen perhaps also crashed there. I mean, a lot of people crashed there, but thanks to which three drivers they gave the name to that wall? If you know it, put it in the comments. And after the Grand Prix weekend, we will give the solution as per usual. Anyway, don't cheat, don't look on Google, don't look on YouTube, and don't go back on the video. You should know it. It's very easy. So let's see what happens on the weekend. It's gonna be a rainy, in theory, weekend. Many things will happen, crashes and all these things. Let's see how the race evolves. See you after the